Welcome to Board Gaming with Austin. Today I am going to be doing a how to play detailed rules video for Skytopia in the Circle of Time by the company Roast and Toast Games. It's for 2 to 4 players and plays in 40 to 60 minutes for robots aged 14 and up. I like to do very detailed rules videos so where you can actually follow along in the rule books if it's a good quality rule book. And then I like to kind of clarify some of the points that they have in rule books, and I actually use a script because I there's a lot of components to remember, and I don't want to stutter and make you guys waste your time. Here's the rule book. The rule book actually, I give it a 4.5. I have other videos about this game, so go check those out. It's my review video. But this is detailed rules video, so let's get right to the point. The goal of the game is you want to build up your floating city by sending golems or dice out to construct different towers that all have different abilities whilst pleasing different guild masters to curry favor. You gain up the victory points by the towers that you build on your island. Throughout the game, the guild masters will give you victory points at the end of the game, and by building wealth by collecting gold and not using it. You count those points at the end of the game. All right, so we're going to get straight into setting up the game. You're going to determine who's the starting player. Then you're going to place the chronometer, which is this thing. It's a dial, basically, in the center of the table, and you're going to want to set the pipet, one pipet, under the construction symbol like that to begin the game. Then you remove the 3+ cards from the tower decks located in the top of the back of the card. It's going to be these decks right here. I actually place the cards right on them. But you're going to remove this 3+ because every time I set up a game, I'm setting it up for 2 players. So you're going to set those aside. And excuse me while I do this real quick for each deck. And then you place them, line them up like this in the center of the board or anywhere that you have space. It really doesn't matter as long as you're maintaining what it's telling you to do throughout the game. You're following directions. Okay, now you want to grab 1 card from each colored tower deck for each player in the game and make columns of that color. So columns of that color where each row has exactly 1 color in it. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to make columns. We're setting up a 2-player game. So we flip those cards, 2 cards per color, 1 for each player. This is how you set up a 2-player game. If you set up a 3-player game, you grab 1 more from each color and place it in its colored column. If you do 4-player, you grab 1 more than that. And then this is a 2-player game. So this is how it would look. All right. Now you're going to want to place the VP track near the play area. That's this right here, and I chose the cloud design because I'm fancy and I don't like the other design. All right, then you want to separate guild master tiles into the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s. Those symbols are right here. They also each have different images on them. And place it, then you're going to want to choose 1 randomly from each pile and place it below the victory points track in this location here, matching the number that is on that tile. Then you're going to want to return the rest of them to the deck box. All right, you're going to want to give each player the 5 dice that match the color of the golem in the bottom right of their player board here and here. So they're purple, I'm yellow. Then you're going to want to deal out a random ability tile to each player. So there's 4 ability tiles here. So you're going to grab 1 random one and place, they recommend you start with the A side in that slot right there. Then you're going to place the flag token matching each player's color on the victory track on the 0 spot to begin the game. Then you're going to want to make a pool of money on each side here. Before the game officially begins, each player places one of their dice face up with the number 5 side face up, a market card in the top row that matches their golem. Just like that. So I'm a yellow golem, so I placed a 5 level golem on this tower matching in the top row, matching the color of my golem, and they did so with purple as well. That just gets you started with a free tower. Now this is the gameplay order. Starting with the first player, each player does these 3 phases, and then play continues clockwise. With a 2-player game, you just go back and forth. So phase 1, finish projects. So these golems are on these cards. Those are projects right now. Phase 2, sending golems to work. When we place the golem, we just sent them to work. Phase 3, refill the empty spots in the market at the end of the round when everyone's completed their 3 steps. The starting player marker is then passed clockwise. One person, and the chronometer is rotated 1 die face to the right. So this is the starting player marker. I'm keeping it on its side. And at the end of the 3rd phase, when you switch, it's the end of the round, you want to move this clockwise 1 die face. So step 3 is refreshing the market. The end of the round is passing this 1 person to the right and changing the chronometer 1 space over. All right, so I'm going to go into each of these deeper. Phase 1, finish projects. Step 1 of phase 1 is check if your golems have completed their construction projects in the market. A construction project is done when the pippets face up on your dice in the market match the pippet count on the dice under the chronometer construction symbol on this dial here. So when the pippets that are face up match the pippets here under this construction symbol, that project is then completed. What you want to do is take your towers and put them on their corresponding color on your island. If someone else's dice was on that card when you're completing it, so they had their dice like this, well, when you complete that tower, you still take your card, you take your dice and don't get any gold for your dice, but the other player takes their dice back and gets 3 gold per dice that they have on that card, or anyone else who has dice on that card gets 3 gold per die. You don't get any gold no matter how many dice that you have on that tower. All right, step 2 of phase 1 is you activate columns of towers matching the color of tower you just completed. Example, if you just completed a blue and a red tower, you place them here. So step 2 of phase 1, you activate the blue and the red column of towers, beginning whichever one you want. And you do this by this way. When you activate a column of towers, so let's say you chose red, you activate their abilities beginning with the bottom foundation ability. So the foundation ability is the ability that's on your island here. And continue upwards, 1 by 1. You can skip abilities of a tower, but if you do activate a tower ability, you must complete the entirety of that card's ability. So let's say you had towers like this lined up. Let's say this turn I completed this second red one and this blue one. So I could decide which tower to activate first. Let's say I do this red one. Well, you start with this very bottom ability here, and it says put your dice on, your golem on any tower card in the market with the 0 cost pipit side face up. So the 0 cost right now is 6. So you would grab your die and put the 6 pipit face up on one of the market cards of your choice. Then you go to the next ability in order. Move your golem to another tower card without activating that card. That's the lightning bolt symbol, activating the card. So if it says without activating, you're just placing the golem there to eventually, hopefully, get a free tower down the road without wasting your turn. Then you move over here. And this tower is something I wanted to point out in the game. When I say you complete all of the abilities, this isn't separate abilities. This is one ability. If you pay 1 gold, you get 1 victory point. You don't decide to get 1 victory point and not pay a gold, and you don't decide to get a gold and not get a victory point. All right, I hope that's all explanatory. Then you go on to the next tower, and only the towers that you added a new card to during this phase, phase 1, are the towers that are activated. So if you had a yellow here, you wouldn't activate yellow if you didn't just get a yellow this turn. So then you have phase 2, which is sending a golem to work. All right. So step 1 of phase 2 is you must, absolutely must, send 1 golem to work on a tower in the market. You'll either be sending these golem from your island supply, which is right here on your tower, or relocating one from another tower in the market. You may place your golem on any market card. These are the rules to placing golem. You may place your golem on any market card, but no card may contain the dice with the same pipit facing up. So I can't place this 5 pipit if I'm placing this, well, here, I'm going to place a new one from my pile. I can't place a 5 pipit here or here because there's already a 5 pipit facing up there. Then your dice will change pipit faces on market cards in 2 ways. So one of the ways is you place the dice during phase 2 from your pool, or you rotate the dice by activating a card. The tower cards have different abilities that allow you to rotate an existing dice that's already on the tower card. If you rotate a dice, that die can't finish its rotation on the same pipit side face up as a die that's currently on the same card. So a lot of these cards' activation abilities say change the pipit up to 2 spaces towards activation. So right now, what this means is if I have a 6 down there on that card right there, toward activation is always to the right. And the game doesn't really explain that well. But you would go from 6, 5 to 4 if you want, or you can do 5. But when you're rotating it, I can't decide that I want to rotate it from 6 to 5 and leave 5, because then you would have 2 pipit sides facing up that are the exact same. But I can skip over 5 and go straight to 4. That is eligible to be done. All right. Step 2 of phase 2 is whichever card you placed your golem on this turn, whether there's other dice there or not, must be paid for. So since I placed a 6 down here, you look at this chronometer here, and the 6 costs $0 to place down. And it goes up, $0, $1, $3, $6, $10, and the pipits in each of those spots will change as well. But the one that's furthest from being completed will always be free for you to place down. And it won't always be 6 pipits. But so when you place that down, it's $0. Whether it's $0, 1, 3, 6, or 10, you immediately get to activate that tower's ability once while it stays there in the market. So you place that down, it's free Then step 2 of your second phase, which was sending, we're still in the sending the goal into work phase, is you activate its ability, which says activate one of the top tower cards of your blue tower, yellow tower, or red tower. So then you go look at your towers down here and you activate one of the top cards of that tower, like it says. Alrighty. One important rule about the cards down here is when you activate a card's ability, that ability cannot affect the golems that are on that card at that time. It can affect other cards, but not those specific dice. And I do want to mention here, as well as at the end, there's I always add confusing components at the end of my videos, and I want to add that here as well, that there is a card that says use another card's ability. So I had just placed the die. The card says use another card's ability, and I used another card's ability, and it was the one that says like this: turn one of your dice up to 2 steps towards construction completion. Then you can, since that's this card's ability, you can affect your dice that you just placed because it's not on your original, the card's ability that was activated. So this card didn't say change the dice up to 2 spaces. This one did. So I can affect these dice. The rules doesn't explain that. So phase 3 is refilling the market. Once you've built these cards onto your tower, there's going to be empty slots throughout this market, and you're going to refill it with the exact same color of that tower. So each row at the end of everyone's turn will always have one color of each tower. And then at the end of phase 3, refilling the market, you're going to be passing the turn marker 1 space over and turning this chronometer 1 die pivot face to the right, clockwise. All right. The end of the game occurs when one of the colored tower decks, so one of these decks here that are face down, has been completely placed into the market. They don't need to be played from the market, but be placed into the market. Then you complete the current round and you score your final points on this VP tracker. As you're buying towers, building towers, you're going to be keeping track of your VPs the entire time, because at the end of the game, you count points up this way. You look at your current VP points, and then you add the points that I'm about to explain to it. So you get end of game Guildmaster points. So you look at these, calculate up everyone's points for those. Then, this part was kind of confusing. You get 5 victory points per laboratory, but the cards, it's 2 purple laboratories. Those are the only laboratories in the game, I believe. They're purple cards, and on the bottom of them, their ability says get 5 points at the end of the game. That's what it's referring to. You don't get 5 points for the laboratory and 5 points at the end of the game from that card. That card's ability gives you 5 points at the end of the game. Then you want to get 1 victory point for every 5 gold that you have in your supply, and you want to get 1 victory point for each golem that you still have in the market. So if you end the game in this situation, each person would get 1 victory point. All right, everyone. I really hope you enjoy this game. If you have any questions whatsoever, ask them in the comments, because I want to be there for people to be able to answer one-off questions that they don't have the answer to or they can't figure it out. And I'm going to try to answer them relatively fast. So thank you for watching. Have a good day, guys.